for you guys. Cool. Thank you for that. I hope everyone is excited and going like very much looking forward to this planning space because we want to make sure that planning is a very important element of being an MC, and it is. I can't even like talk about how many of great experiences we had when we were planning, especially being an MCVP, and now going through it as an MCP elect as well. So I am really looking forward to enjoying this space with you. Sharing this great knowledge, and let's look forward to something very much powerful. So yes, hi. For those of you who don't know me, I am Arfan. I'm currently the MCVP ICT of Isaac in Sri Lanka. So yes, shout out to Isaac in Sri Lanka, and also the MCP elect of Isaac in Bangladesh. Shout out to Isaac as well in the chat. All right, wonderful. So nice to be here. And yes, so my check-in is something like, okay, so you have to put down in the chat if you're super energetic, if you're feeling active, or if you're calm but alert, or if you're just like fucking tired out of this day, or else like, are you feeling exhausted? So I'd love to know in the chat, how is everyone feeling? Okay, I see Sim, nice, she's super energetic. Okay, Pio is super energetic, cool. Mifra is common. Okay, Salsabil is feeling Bangladesh, nice. Vanessa is all right, super energetic. Yes, love it. So just keep it coming, peeps. Like keep on like putting down your energy so we see how everyone is doing and how all of you are feeling. That's so nice. I mean, it's nice to see that everyone is feeling a lot of energy and you guys are excited for your planning as well. Nice, cool, wonderful. Good to know that no one is tired. That's the only best thing. Otherwise, I had to like make everyone like wake up, do some dances or something. Cool. All right. So the question for the check-in is, what is the one app on your phone you use the most? Okay, I'm gonna like assume everyone is gonna put down some social media app, but I want to see if some of you have something different. So what is the app on your phone that you use the most? YouTube, Messenger, nice. Google Calendar, wow, so productive of you. Nice. WhatsApp, TikTok. Cool. All right. So PM loves his TikTok. YouTube, WhatsApp, Snapchat. Nice. Messenger, WhatsApp, TikTok. All right. Pinterest. Okay, interesting. All right. Instagram. So all of you like use different kinds of apps. All right. Alyssa uses TikTok. Cool. So yes. So a lot of oh my God. Echo, you use Expo. So cool. um, nice. All right. That means you're gonna enjoy the most out of this session. It's all about analytics and it's all about expo. Cool. Nice. All right. So wonderful. Good way to start. So just to like recap on what you did in the planning so far. So yesterday, I think with the session with Isuru, you talked about your planning context. You got an idea about the planning tools, your resources and stuff like that. And with support today, what we are going to talk about with me is going to be about planning preparation and focus selection. So how you exactly go ahead with your planning, and what are the kind of capacities you need to focus on your planning, and how do you actually prioritize on your focus. And then tomorrow, I think this session is going to be with Prayog. I'm not very sure, but what you're going to be doing is analyzing case studies of planning, and you're also going to start working a bit on planning so that you get an idea of what exactly is needed during that phase. Cool. And today we are here in the most exciting part of the planning. So when I was in the MCP summit, this was my favorite space as well, the second space. So I'm hoping it would be the same for you guys as well. Cool. So what we want to talk about today is understanding data and decision making, because you see, like when you are an MCVP, and when you're going into your planning, it's very important for you to understand how data plays a huge role in decision making, and understanding how you could input that into your decision making matrix as well. And understanding prioritization, how do you prioritize your key battles? How do you go ahead in making sure that priority becomes a huge part of you doing your planning, and also building your data management capacity. Like how do you start? It's fine that maybe you don't know how to do data management. It's fine you don't know how to do like data analytics. That's totally cool. But how can we work on that, and how can we essentially build that is what we want to talk about today. So yes, so before we start anything, I just want to like tell you a bit about my story with data management. So how I hopped into this when I was an MCVP, and how this actually started for me. So very simple. Yes, this is me. So yeah, I'm happy some people use Snapchat. I was using Snapchat. And then yes, so I was planning the goal for IGT. So I was MCP IGT for my for the term 2021. And then for semester one, this is how kind of I started. So I was like a fresh MCVP, didn't know much, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be super chill and just plan my goal, and just like how I used to do it back then. So what happened initially was we had 28 realizations in IGT. So it was called Incoming Global Talent before. And then the whole product change happened in my term. So then I was like 63%. I'm gonna do like, I'm gonna achieve like 63 realizations. This was my goal. And like I was thinking, okay, I was telling my MC team, oh, this is a 25 percentage growth goal, and like it'll challenge us, but it'll make us push for more. It's gonna bring us a lot of money, and we're the generation. So I was like not very specific with what I wanted to achieve. I was just saying, okay, like out of gut feeling, like every other MCVP. Like, I mean, these days you guys are in that zone, in that element. You're like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna achieve this, I'm gonna change this product, I'm gonna do all of that. So I was just like that, so excited, ready to make the change happen. And then what happened was I realized this is not gonna work. And the good thing was, I had to realign things. I had to think about like statistics. I had to think about data, because there was nothing wrong with being ambitious. And I don't want you guys to think that being ambitious is a bad thing. But what is important is that you need to know like how many, from where, whom, when, how. Like, how does the data or how does your analysis support you achieving your goal? It's fine that if you want to go for like a 500% growth, but how does the data support you to validate that decision? How does your analysis bolster you achieving that specific target? So that's what you need, and that's how the data supports you. So then this is where the whole concept of data analytics comes in. Like, how do you leverage this concept into what you want to achieve? Now, fast forward. So I told you, I started my MCVP term. I was in my planning. I was very ambitious. I was like, I don't need data analytics. I don't need my analysis. I can just figure this thing out. And first month of my term, I was like in a bad place, because my LCPs were talking to me, and he was like, okay, you have this huge plan. How do you want to achieve it? And where does your analysis come from? And then I realized, okay, I need to realign things, because we still didn't submit our goals. We had to submit it in the end of the month, in end of July. So same thing with you guys. You'll have to submit it by IC. So same thing. Then I was thinking, okay, this is not going to work. I need to realign. If this goal, it doesn't pick up, because none of my data supports me to execute the specific goal. And then I started doing a lot of analysis. Okay, by the way, these numbers are like just like random numbers, so this is not true by any means. But I started to like think, okay, I needed to have an analysis of how my exchanges were behaving throughout the years, if my realization supported the growth pattern that I wanted to observe throughout the years. And then I started like distributing between regions to understand if there was an interregional reference that I had to take. Okay, for example, like if Americas is my dominant supply, how do I realign that into AP, where Sri Lanka was from? And then it was about thinking, all right, so how does my approval timeline look like? Do I need to focus on which month would I need to focus the bulk of my attraction? And then how exactly was my activity for realization? In which months do I have the most realizations, so that I make sure that my network, the capacity of my network, is aligned in such a way that they can facilitate these months in a much more stronger manner. And then it was just understanding the inferences. Okay, so I just had to like construct my plot lines to see between my approvals and between my realizations, how exactly do my numbers tally. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of funky stuff. You go through your data, you understand your revenue, you understand all of these things. I don't want you to get overwhelmed by all of this, but I want you to understand that to achieve your goal, you need to understand exactly how your numbers previously have behaved to allow you to create this growth that you want to see. So it was about understanding, okay, what kind of percentage of revenue has my product contributed in the past? How does it look globally? How does it look in the regions? How does it look nationally? And how do my LCs also react to it throughout the years? And then getting data from the relevant GFB dashboards to understand, okay, how do finances need to behave to understand the growth in the specific goal? Then looking at all of this, I reached to a conclusion, okay, 28 was what they achieved. I'm going to focus on 56, because this is the much more realistic data. And my data that I have, the inferences that I've drawn support me to achieve this goal. And then looking at it, all right, this should be our part. But guys, so what I went to my team and what I said was, this is a 50% growth goal, and it will challenge us and it will make us push for more, but it represents 30% of our revenue distribution. We are the generation. So it ended up with me being more specific, and it ended up with me understanding, okay, so I had my graphs, I had my inferences, I had my percentages to validate what I was trying to achieve. And yeah, so now I want to ask you the question. So which planning to you sounds more grounded? Was it the planning one that I showed you? I was all ambitious, like, yay, let's do it. Or else was it planning two, in which I was much more realistic? I was working with my data and I was doing things. So just put it in the chat. What do you think? Planning one or planning two? Which was more grounded, according to you? Second, two. Cool. So most of you are agreeing on two, which is good because this is what you need. Like if you right now, if you have thought to yourself, if this is the kind of planning that I need to take forward in my MCVP term, and this is the kind of the kind of conclusion that I have to go for, then that is the right thing. This is like you're right on the money. So just stay there for now, and then I want you to think about data analysis, and I want you to say that I want you to think that it is not something that you do during your planning as well. So this is something that now I know that if you guys have done your, if some, I don't know if some of you have done your planning preparation, so probably you know that you have to do a lot of analysis. You have to like analyze your context. You have to analyze your external context, your internal context, your past behaviors, your conversion rates, your process time, just so much of data. But what I want you to know is this is not just something you do during your planning, and it can change. And this should be something that should be embedded in your role essentially, because data is something. The nature of it is that it can change, and it can contribute to patterns being developed. It can contribute to new metrics being identified. So this is something that is constantly going to be there in your role, and it's about how you integrate this in your day-to-day routine. And any skill, to be honest, can be trained. This is my belief. I think that any talent is something that you can foster and something that you can develop on your own. So the good thing is that it's time to like exercise your brains. It's time to exercise your brains to see exactly how good are you with your data management ability. And with that, guys, welcome to the Master of Data Challenge. So what's gonna happen is my lovely CC buddy Abim is gonna like put you guys into some like random breakout rooms, and you will have the chance to like practice your data ability. So what's going to happen is I'll give you one challenge that you have to solve in the next 15 minutes as a team. Okay. So use the data that I'll share with you. So Abim is going to put the link in the chat. So it contains like 4 types of files. It has your DAL file, your people analytics, your process time, and your opportunities background. So use that data to understand the challenge that I'm going to give you. So after that, after you solve the data, after you solve the challenge, you'll have 3 minutes as a team to present your findings, what you have actually noticed. So how it's going to look like is, the challenge is that Arfan wants to open a company in Europe and use the services of Isaac in the future to recruit talents from anywhere globally to work in business administration and marketing departments. The company does not have any specific requirements for nationalities or duration. However, it is essential for Arfan's business that the process takes less than 6 months. And then what you're looking at is the questions that you have to answer. Which entity in the region would have a good market fit in the work field to help Arfan choose the country to open the company? And which entities in the global network would be possible suppliers to have partnerships? I think Abim will be putting this in one of your chats, hopefully, that you have as MCVPs. So you'll have this challenge, and then these are the files. So once you go into the link, you can access these specific things. Abim, if you can just put the link in the chat, it would like really help. So you guys can like access this, and you get all your data. And then with your data, you can use to solve the problem. So once again, like this is the problem, and I just want to know if I don't have access to your groups. Can someone like screenshot this and just put it quickly in the RFI? Oh, it's done. Cool. Thanks, Amit. Cool. You're lightning fast. I love it. So yes, so this is done, and which essentially means that we can put you in the breakout rooms and you can start. Does anyone have any questions with the challenge? If you don't understand anything, just you can quickly ask. Or else you can just like wave in the chat. That makes things much more easier. All right, cool. All right, nice. Okay. Abim, can we put them in the breakout rooms? Perfect, nice. All right, guys. So see you in the breakout. Enjoy, and you will be back in 15 minutes, and let's see which team solves it first. Let's see. Thank you, Zoom lady. It's so suffering when I don't remember how to use pivot table. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so we'll go back to the session. So I want to know how is it? How is it for the groups? So like let's share. So I think breakout room number 1. Someone can just share quickly. How is it for you? What did you do? So I think we had Alyssa, we had Anuka, we had Gialik, we had Salsabil, we had Shazib, and we had Shilin. How was it for you guys? Anyone?
We tried to at the start we were a bit confused, and so we tried to like delegate roles for the for each person to go through each sheet. But first we kind of like looked through the challenge and saw which set of data was like the most useful to try and save time. Uh, and then we're just kind of confused because loading the sheets up was a bit slow because there's a lot of data. But I think the way that we're supposed to do it is through using pivot tables to like compare one column of data to the other. But we didn't know how to like do it. We had to watch like a whole Google video. But I think that's how you should approach it. Yeah, that's all we have.
And we
Nice.
also like tried to find the duration, and we tried to like find the key points that we have to look for.
Mhm.
But the thing is that like most of our laptop crashed. So that
Right.
took 10 to 15 minutes.
Yes,
So the
yes.
lesson we got is like we have to get better laptops.
Yeah, I think that was something like when I was in my NCP term. So my laptop used to like get fucked up because I couldn't like read my pivot tables. It was just so annoying. But yeah, good as MCPP operations, especially. What about breakout room number 2? We had Eddie, we had Iko, we had Lakshita, we had Nishat, we had Sachin, we had Shamit. How was it for you guys? Anyone, guys?
So I'll go.
Yeah, okay, all right.
No, you go. It's fine.
Okay, maybe you can add Lakshita. From the past group that we have is that the time is not enough for us to actually analyze all the data, and also that the very first obstacle that we faced. And the second one is about the delegation task, because we somehow like some people in our group not really understand about how to produce an understanding about the data, so it's kind of hard for us to delegating all the specific data.
Mhm.
And yeah, we actually, some of them also have some kind of trouble in terms of the computer things, how they the Wi-Fi and also the other things. So yeah, do you want to add something, Lakshita?
No, you covered them all. Thanks, Iku.
Nice. Wow, that's so cool. Okay, what about room number 3? We had Bobo, we had Demi, we had Punsara, we had. I hope I'm like pronouncing your names very nicely because I don't know if I'm like murdering them.
Okay, I'll go. So in our team also, I think we figure out the fact that the what are the sheets that we need to look into for to get the answers for each question, and we actually we done that part. And but the thing is, we were also struggling with the analytics, and we knew that we need to use the pivot tables for that. But then again, even though like we had to download and analyze it through Excel, I think anyway, and none of us had the Excels in our laptop, so we need to just look for the random the major we need to just look for the random data and find the majority out of it. Yeah, so I think we understand what are the things that we need to look into, but we couldn't do it in the allocated time.
Mhm, mhm. Yes. So I just want to know, like, what sheets did you look into? Like,
It's not that easy.
Yeah, so we looked into the process time for the second question.
okay.
The sheet on the process time, and for the first question we actually looked on the opportunities background tracker, and that people background tracker.
Nice, cool. Right on the money. That's good. Okay. So room number 4, we had Eugene, we had okay, I'm not gonna even try Michael, and then we had Priyanka. Okay, I just don't want to mess up your names. Peeps, anyone from room number 4?
Yes. So in room 4, we there's not enough time, but then the process of filtering the data is kind of clear, which is, first of all, we have to go to first of all, we have to go to the people background to filter out GTA only, because other products are not really related to the question. and then from there we look for the we only cross-check with in opportunities background for GTA projects, and then cross-check with DAAL spreadsheet to really get the entity that can produce the most of our desired talent. So it's a lot of cross-checking involved, but due to lack of time, I am unable to produce an accurate data. But what I can produce is out of GTA, America's suicide seems to be the one with the highest number of talents that we can recruit from. Yeah, so that's all.
Nice. So cool. So cool that you reached to a conclusion. That's nice. All right. So what about room number 5? How was it for you guys?
So in we decided to divide and conquer and went through different sheets, but we couldn't get enough time to discuss what we had gathered from those sheets. So lesson 101, always keep a check on the timer.
Nice. Cool. All right. Room number 6. How was it for you guys?
Okay, I think I can do. So for us, it was like we sort of tried to delegate work. So beforehand, we had like a small discussion more to understand what sort of data we're looking for. I mean, based on the questions and all. So we were able to come to the conclusion that we're looking for persons and like people. But I think then we chose the wrong files, because it was only once we started working on the files when we realized like the files did not have the right. I mean, it did not have a lot of stuff. So like when we were trying to filter out like for backgrounds, we were having like multiple backgrounds. It was weird. So I think we should have gone with like Tal or process time maybe for like a better. Yeah, I think that would have worked out better. So I think that's the one thing that we figured out by the end of it. So, yeah.
Nice. Room number 7. Do we have anyone from 7? Room number 7. I think we have Bona, we have Louise, and we have Yiji.
So that's my room. Sorry, because I don't remember my rooms. There were so many numbers to remember rather than the number of the room.
Yeah.
So for my team, we have struggling, like I said, when using pivot table, because we don't really understand how to use this, because it's so many long times ago that we use it. The last time we used it quite a long time ago, so we got struggling a lot. But for the logic of the system we look for to figure out the answer is quite similar to the other team. Yeah, but we are still struggling with sourcing data in order to understand how we could answer the question. Yeah, so that's for my team.
Cool, nice. Room number 8. You had Daniel, you had Emmy, you had Sabina.
Okay, hi. So we didn't have enough time to go through all the sheets, but like since Daniel was having internet connection, so problem with internet connection, we actually went through the opportunity and the people's background and the process time. So for the first question, I don't know it's right or wrong, but for the first question, we concluded that either Turkey or either Romania would be the best option for you to open a company, because they have the preferred and required JDs for both marketing and business administration, and the supply would be either Italy or Brazil, because they were the only countries where people had the JD for marketing and business business administration, but for the process time we fucked up and we could not look through the the entire sheet. But I don't know if that's right or wrong, but yeah, that's what we found.
All right, awesome. That's so cool. It's cool that you actually reached the conclusion. All right, so now it's the interesting part. Let me take you through this. Let me just drive you into the question, and let's go. If you have watched gaming walkthroughs, that's what I'm gonna do now. Just taking you through this story. All right, so let me drive you into this. So what essentially starts with anything is you first of all break down the question. You understand what is the question, like what is required from this. So that's rule number one. Whenever you're like analyzing anything with data, you first of all break it down. So what essentially is important to note here is that I want a company in Europe. So Europe is my region. So that is like my filtration should happen with Europe. And then I'm looking into fields of work. I'm looking for business administration and marketing. So these are my preferred sub-products. So I'm looking into working for these specific areas. And the question is that which entity in the region, in the Europe region, would have a good market fit in the field that I'm looking for. So that is your base. That sets up your ground for the analysis that you have to do. And on that, so I'm looking for backgrounds. So I'm essentially looking for like what kind of sub-products can support the kind of like within the region what I'm looking for. So then I go to opportunities background. So this is first thing. And then once I go there, I have a lot of data. So I need to clean this out. I need to like make it, I need to look at it in a way that is very easy for me to like pick certain things out. So I apply a filter. I apply a filter for the products. So I try to filter GTA because this is what I'm looking for. Business administration, marketing falls under GTA. So then I filter out GTA and this is what I get. So once I get this, I go for a pivot table. So then I go to my data and then I insert a pivot table. So by definition, pivot table is a table of statistics that summarizes the data of a more extensive table. So this entire table here is the extensive one. And I'm trying to apply a pivot table to support my, to make my data much more clean and apply it in such a way that I can get a strong inference going. And then I create the pivot table from this point. So I don't need LC and I don't need OPID for now because I'm not looking for LCs, but I'm more or less, I'm looking for countries. So then I don't need that data. So I just look for products, MC, region, and background. And then I apply my pivot table. And then now this is what it looks like. So I get my pivot table, my data is, okay, it's ready for me to just work my magic and start analyzing. So what I do is I apply a filter first of all, because right now, what you must know is I'm looking for business administration and I'm looking for marketing. So then first of all, I filter business. And then what I'm doing is I'm adding a column for backgrounds as well, because now I need to know exactly how the background, like I want to understand from an X and Y axis, how does my background look like? So then I apply my background and then I put it, I insert an ascending order to get a view of my data. And then from there on out, what I need to do is I need to look at the countries. I need to look at the list of countries from the specific region that support these specific subproducts that I'm looking for. And then in the rows, I add my MC. And then in the MC, you can see, so I get all the countries, like all the countries that Isaac is in the moment, you get that data. And then I want to clean this much more. I want to add a region because I know this is going to just give me a lot of complex data. So then I filter this out. I add, oh yeah, forgot about a small thing. So when you put values, so it needs to reflect the count of the values. So where you use this formula called count to get exactly one specific number per realization or something like that. So then I add a value and I add it for background so that it gives me an exact count of how much. For example, in business administration, you can see that Brazil gives me like 47, but I'm looking for Europe. Now, the best thing is I filter my region. So I add another filter and I filter region. And this gives me Europe. So I think one of you got Turkey. So good. You're right. Like you are right with that conclusion. And then if you look at the data more, Hungary also has a lot of numbers. They've done a lot of numbers in the fields of business administration. But going back to the main question, what you have to remember is that I am looking for data to support me for both business administration and marketing. And then when you look at that, Portugal, Czech Republic, and Belgium support that. They give me both of this. So I'm looking for one country in which I can specifically open two types of subproducts. So the inference that I got from this analysis was that, okay, Portugal, Czech Republic, and Belgium are some countries that I can go ahead with. Next, now, okay, so you see, we finished that part. So that's it. Now you keep it away. And next you look at which entities in the global network would be possible supplies. Now, when you're talking about supplies, you're essentially talking about people. How, like, I need people to apply for these opportunities. I have set up my opportunities in Europe, probably in Belgium. And now I need to know which people can come and work in these specific opportunities. And now, so it's a global network. I don't have to filter any region. So I just need to see that which countries could give me a lot of people in these specific fields. So then I go to people's background. That's it. Simple as that. I know what I want to look at and I know which sheet will support my data. and I go to people's background, and immediately I add a list. So I add the entities list from it, like to just make my data, to make solving data much more easier. So what you can do is there's a very simple formula called unique, and you can just like type down the list of all the countries, and it gives you a very nice clean order. And then I add these columns: business administration, marketing, and a total, to see exactly which entities has the most number for these two specific subproducts. And then I go for this formula. It's a COUNTIF formula. So if any of you have used COUNTIF formula, just put in the chat. I have used this. Just curious to know. So COUNTIF should essentially give you where, and it should essentially show you like where, how, and what exactly is it you're looking for. So if you can see, my COUNTIF is this. So this is my formula. So HH and J2. So COUNTIF is again where, what, where, and what. So I'm trying to look for HH, which is I need to correlate my data with these MCs to see if I can find J2. And J2 is Afghanistan. So I'm trying to map Afghanistan in these home MCs, in the list of home MCs, to see if they, from the column G, if they support business administration. So you can see that I'm trying to like look for where my data is going to be supported with this column H. And then I'm trying to map it with column J2, because J2 is my reference cell. So my reference cell is Afghanistan. And then I'm trying to analyze the entire column H to see how it matches. And then with that specific match, I'm trying to link it to G, to the entire column G, to see if I can find business administration. So once I have that formula, I just need to like put the formula and I drag it down to see, all right, so this country, this is the number of times that they can give me business administration. This is their supply. And then, yeah, so this is just an explanation of J2 is what, column C is where, and column H is also where. So once I do this, and my what is my business administration, and then I have this. So I do the same for marketing as well. I put a reference cell, and I input the data, and then I find this. And then I reach my conclusion reaches that, okay, these are the countries. And then what you have seen is like, I just put a filter. I put a filter on business administration, marketing, and I see like which gives me the most numbers. And then I correlate them. And then you can see that globally, this is my supply. So I have Brazil, India, Colombia, Egypt, Turkey, Mexico, Pakistan, Peru, Germany, Tunisia. These give me altogether the most number for business administration and marketing. And that's it. That solves my problem. So I have my list of countries that I know which would give me the highest supply. If you're cool up to this part, if you get it up to this part, just put yes in the chat, so that I know you're good with this. So here, if you notice that we didn't really use any kind of pivot tables. This is just simple filtration. This is just you filter your data and you use formulas like COUNTIF to get an idea of exactly what is the data you're looking for. That's it. Very simple, people background. And now we are done. So we have solved 2/3 of the question. So we have our subproducts. We know which countries are like in Europe are tallying with the subproducts. So we know which is our host MC. And now we know what could be our specific home MCs, which has the highest supply in the world. And now we need to look at process time. We need to look at which countries would give us an edge to find data within like less than 6 months. And now I go into process time. So if you notice in this entire thing, there's like one table, like one sheet you don't need to use. I just put it there to like confuse you guys. Because normally when you do analysis, you always go and you download the DAL file and you think, okay, I'm going to work on the DAL file. But when you look at all the other three, you disregard that. And that is something that leads to confusion. So I want you to like reflect on this as well and see that, okay, I don't need these. I need to be very specific with the data I'm looking for. I don't even need to go to DAL file because that's just going to confuse me and like fuck up my decision making even more. So now I go into process time and I do my filter. So I apply my filters again just to make the data much more clean because I don't like to work on a messy sheet. And then I try to find the process time. So like what you can see is initially when you just have a set of dates and these dates can't give you any kind of indication on how you need to calculate process time. So, but when I have a filter, when I have applied a filter and when I've sorted out my data, then I can just go and find the process time. And I use this formula. It's called a dated if. So a dated if is essentially a formula that will help you to find the difference between two dates. So I go for a dated if, and then I use both my reference cells are K993 and then 0993 or 0933, and then I put like another quotation M. So M is something you use for months. So once again, we are looking for data under 6 months. So our data calculation needs to come in months, not in days or not in years. But you can, if you want to go for year, you can put Y. If you want to go for days, you can go for D. And then yeah, so that's the idea. And now once I've applied the formula, so you can see this is the process time I get when I like, this is in its entirety, this is the process time these entities take to for exchange. And then now what I want to do is I want to filter this even more, because I want to look at which entities are 6 months and less. So then I apply this formula, which is if error, average if. So I take a reference column as C, which are the home MCs, and then I map it to T2 1316, and then I try to get like an average of all of these. So an average if essentially is where, what, and an average range. So my average range is like between 6. And now once I have done this calculation, I get, so T2136 is what, and an S average range is this. So this is my average range. And then these are the countries I end up with. So very simple, but you need to practice. So it'll take time to for you to pick it up. So you're probably going to be confused, but this takes time. But at the end of my conclusion, this is what I reach. So my entities could be India, could be Egypt, it could be Germany, it could be Tunisia. So again, so my supply can be these 4 countries. Now, the entire gist of this activity is the fact that, like, in this challenge, there's no right answer. So as you see, the data doesn't bring you to one specific answer. That is where inference takes you. That is where decision making takes you. Data is just supposed to give you your answer in a much more cleaner, in a much more smooth way, so that you know exactly what you need to do. And you're like, okay, I don't have to think about 1,000 things, but I can think about 10 things and I can focus from there. And then, like, to have the best output, we would need to do more information than that for the analysis. For example, you'd have to look at things like visa. You'd have to look at things like border control. You'd have to look at things like government policy, foreign policy. So that is another set of data that you think about. But this should give you an indication. Okay, so these are the set of countries, and how do I filter them even more as I apply more data? I support it with external data. Now, before you analyze itself, it's very important to ask the right questions, because asking the right questions can give you the indication of what kind of data you need to analyze. So when you looked at the way you approach the question, I'm pretty sure some of you, when you started itself, you started opening DAL files, you started opening this, you started opening that, and you just confuse yourself even more. But you don't have to do that. You just need to read the question and you need to understand, okay, for this thing, I just break it down into 3 parts. And the first part, I need this specific thing. I'm going to find that. And then I'm going to find this. And then I'm going to find this. And in the end, I'm going to let logic do its magic. So now it's important to also know like where you're going to go first. So that was the whole activity. That was the whole idea behind it. It was not about just you trying to find out, oh, okay, what works and I'm going to do everything. No, it's just about making sure that you know exactly what you need to achieve. And you don't need to always use pivot tables as well, like we saw in the second example. All right. And now that's why the whole essence of this conversation is about focus selection, because as MCVPs, you're going to be constantly understanding that you have a lot of things that you would like to achieve, but having your focus is very specific. Having a narrow-minded approach when it comes to creating strategy is important, because that gives you an understanding and that builds on your ability to solve much more complex problems. So yes, but first let's talk about data. I always love this. I love talking about data. First of all, don't be scared of a CSV or an XLS file. Like it is like, I'm pretty sure like when you saw the way we approached the problem, and in the beginning when you were like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed with data, I'm just gonna like lose it. But then when you see how we solve it in a very much more in a much more easier way, you see that there is an easy way for us to break this down. So it's so much easy, but it's just the way we approach things can obviously like make things hard for us. And if you don't know it, Google it, guys. So I really loved one. I think it was room number 1. You guys actually went to YouTube. That's the cool thing. Like when you don't know things, go and Google it. Like no one needs to have a degree in data science or data analysis to like do this. I didn't know data for shit. And then when I became an MCVP, I had to start learning because it helped me. And now I can say that, okay, I'm a decent data analyst. And then cross-reference. I mean, it is very easy to make mistakes because you're dealing with a sheet that could give you thousands of data. So let's say the best thing that I did when I used to do this, what I do is I get one of my friends who is very good at data analysis. I ask him, you do the analysis, I do the analysis, and let's see if both of us have like an intersection. If there is no if there is a problem with cross reference, probably one of us made a mistake. In most cases, it is me, because he's a pro at data analysis. So that is the idea that I want you to go with. So cross referencing is very important, because you can mess up a lot if you don't have the right data. And if data doesn't support your decision making, these are problems as well. And 4 is like, yes, the computer can do the calculations, but your brain is responsible for the insights. So you saw, like, at the end, we reached we reached 5 countries, but out of which you can't essentially go with all the countries, because probably different countries have different contexts. They have issues with borders. They have different kinds of problems going on. But it is your brain that is going to tell you, all right, okay, yo, Arfan, maybe you need to look at visa. Maybe you need to look at things like, okay, do this country, do they have a good foreign policy with any of the countries you're looking at in Europe? That is your brain telling you to look for these insights. Your brain makes the final decision. Computer just supports you to reach those conclusions. That's it. And yes, practice. It's so easy, but it's so easy, but yet it's so hard. But it only gets better when you practice. When you keep on practicing and learning and learning and learning, you build a habit, and you build a strong habit to make yourself much more capable of this. Remember, like, there's this very interesting thing I found. It takes 21 days to build a habit. It takes 90 days to build a lifestyle. So if you consistently practice on these things, you can actually become a pro at data analysis. And remember, guys, I think someone's going to always say this, all right, but I don't need this. I'm a back office MCVP. My products need to do this. But no, you need data analysis as well. Whether you're doing BD, whether you're doing finance, whether you're doing TM, data is going to be something that is always going to support you in your decision making. Now, yeah, quick story. I'm going to like hop on and tell you something very quickly about how data analysis, how the story kind of started to me in my MCP term. So like, like I was super lazy to go and analyze constantly. So I went to this similar data session last year at APOP. It was called APOP, then now it's called RFS. So at APOP, like, they were telling about like looking at data, and then I was like, okay, I can do this, but I don't want to analyze all the time. It's just so annoying for me, because I just didn't want to download and just type formulas. That's not how I like to work. And I wanted my data to be readily available. And then I built a dashboard. So what happened was, I looked at the global OD model and I was thinking, all right, maybe I can do something like this. So I started learning about how this thing works and how data can actually be used. And then I started thinking, okay, I can work this out. I can be a pro at this. And then, yeah, so I put some information from India, because India is like one of Sri Lanka's top IR partners. So I built a dashboard that gave me bird's eye view. So if anytime me or my LCVPs needed to go, we just like type in India, and then we know what exactly the region is. We know how many LCs they had, who was the most contributing, the field of work. I automated it to the point that I didn't know, I automated it to the point that I didn't want to do analysis anymore. So that was my only thing. My thing was, I didn't want to like get into an analysis paralysis where I keep on looking at data the whole month, but I just wanted it to be look clean to support it to my decision making, and that was it. And then, but I didn't stop there. Obviously, I could not. I wanted to do more. I wanted to like make my data much more accessible to people. And then my LCs had an oversight of their partners as well. So now the data that I had initially just gave me an oversight of my MCs, like my top partners. But then what I wanted was, I made it in such a way that, okay, my LCs could just go type the country, type the product, and they could see exactly how their IR partners are performing. So it gave them an indication of, okay, so I remember last year, so Navi Mumbai was doing really good in terms of OGT and ISIC India. So my LCs were instructed to construct partnerships. So they knew exactly where they had to, like which LCs they had to talk to and how the partnership should have happened and what were the conversion rates. And I got all of this data live. So Isuru taught me a way to like incorporate this from Isaac Core. So I got all my data live, which means I didn't have to like replace this every month. So it would have been even more boring. So I just figured out a way to connect Isaac Core into my Google Sheet. And then the data was live and my LCPs just had fun. And yes, but once again, the biggest lesson I learned was that internal data was not enough, especially with COVID-19. Like for now, but like for COVID-19, one thing was that the data was not like being friendly, in the sense that I realized that, okay, let's say my partner India was doing so well. They were doing so well in this month. And I knew that they were going to give me a lot of numbers coming in, but wait, COVID-19. Okay, that is an X factor that I needed to know how I could include that into my planning as well, so that my LCs were much more smart and they knew that how do we construct the partnerships based on that. And then I went back to the drawing board. I started sketching again, and then I was like, okay, I built a I built I built a dashboard for exchange. How do I build one for COVID-19? How do I get data for COVID-19? And then I built this. I built a COVID-19 dashboard, and this was probably the best thing I did. And I had COVID and border data automated. Essentially, I looked at so I got India, and I started seeing, okay, how like how was their COVID situation? How much of cases did they have? Are they open for specific countries? Do our flights to Sri Lanka operational? And how was the infection rate and how was the recovery rate? So that it helped me to make my analysis to think, okay, in this month, was it realistic for us to have interns from this country? Was it realistic for us to did it make sense for us to go ahead with this IR partner? So that was the gist of it. Just looking at my data, I mean, me enjoying because I was like, once again, I always tell this, the best people who can make decision, like who can work with data, are the people who are like really lazy. So I was like lazy because I didn't want to do it all the time. I didn't want to like download DAL files and like do analysis. I didn't want to go to XPy and like whenever I had to go for it. So this happened to me when super miserable. And then what I did was like, I had to do this so that whenever I used to have IR calls, I was like, okay, 1 minute, let me go to my sheet. Oh, cool. I know this is what it is, and that's that. And it just made things happen. And my IR partners were like always, yo, you gotta share this with me. I think we need to use this. This is a good replacement for XPy. And I was like, no, don't even say that. So yeah. So essentially, what happened was I found a way to replace XPy for a while in my MC. So that my LCVPs had a much better chance to use this, and they felt like, okay, how do we how do we go ahead with this? And this supports the decision making as well. So yeah, so while we are still talking, I'm trying to figure out ways in which I can incorporate data and how I can still do this, and how we can still make things happen in a much more smart way. And now the question is, where can I get this data, and how do I validate this? Simple, very, very simple. You have this beautiful email that comes every month to you from Mukhlis, from AI, and it gives you the data files like monthly. So MCPs are supposed to get this every month. So once you do get this, you can use this to like, you can create anything you want. You can create your dashboards and anything, and you can use this to back up your dashboard so that you have a lot of analysis going forward. Or else you can figure out a way like me to incorporate the API from XPA or else from Isaac Code. That's fine, but you need to learn. But I think you can do it. So then the other thing is like you have your resource hub, you have the resource center in XPA, which gives you a lot of information. So you can just go to Global Hub all the time and you can get your data files. You can even read about how to do basic data management. So that's the cool part of it. You have so much data, and sometimes we don't really know how do we leverage it, how do we use it. So yeah, that's the interesting part. But remember, like before anything, but before all of this now, I'm pretty sure you all are like psyched. You guys are like, okay, I'm gonna go to my MC planning, I'm gonna like create my dashboards, and I'm gonna like be a data pro, and I'm gonna learn. That's so cool. I want you guys to do that. But it's like this, before you analyze, it is very important to have the right questions. So I just didn't start making dashboards because I wanted to do it. I was like, okay, man, COVID-19 is just fucking shit up. How do I put that into my planning? How do I get my LCs to be smart? And that's when I put it in there. Okay, we suck at IR partnerships because we don't use data. How can I make this better? That's why I created the IR dashboard. And those were the things, like you need to always reach out and dig deep. What are the problems that your network is facing? What are the problems that you are facing when it comes to planning? Why is your planning not consistent? Why don't you take your planning beyond? And why does it just stick to the planning sheet that you use once and then you don't touch it again till replanning? Why is that happening? It's something wrong, because I don't like to go and look at it. Okay, I need to change my routine. I need to embed data into my routine. And that's when that's how these questions come up, and that's how you trigger yourself to find the answers for these problems. So that is the base of it. That was it for me. Like, I didn't want to go to my planning tool every time to look at my goals and just tick things. I didn't like that. I just wanted to see it in a way that it looked very beautiful for me. And that was it. And I knew for a fact that my LCVPs were super lazy to go and look at their planning sheets. So I wanted to, I think my LCVP is in this call, he's my successor. So he knows what I'm talking about. So it was that for me. So I just didn't want to make it in a way that I wanted to make it in a way that people I could keep people accountable. But because as MCVPs, one of the biggest things that you're going to focus on is accountability from your network to support, because your planning is not going to work unless the people that you're going to work with execute that. I'm pretty sure RFS has more sessions like that talks how you improve accountability in your commissions. But that was one thing for me, to build on the accountability, to build a sense of ownership so that my people would start working and take more responsibility, and that I could catch them red-handed when they didn't work, and when the data was not showing, when the data was not like showing that they worked. And also it's important to know where you're going first. So once again, focus selection, guys. You are going to have thousands of things in your minds right now, but remember, how do I narrow it down to that one specific or 2-3 specific things that I really want to achieve, and how do I work with that? And like, that is what we like, that is what I essentially say when we talk about focus selection. It is simply how you take all your plans and narrow it down to something that you can execute in a specific time duration. So there is like so many cool tools online. So you have this prioritization metrics, which teaches you like, okay, what is the urgency and what is the importance. So this is called like 2-dimensional time management. If anyone knows what this is, just put yes in the chat. I would like really love to know. If you have seen this somewhere. Cool, Krish, nice. Yeah, this is the Eisenhower matrix. We even call it like 2-dimensional time management because this makes life so easy. So I started using this right after my planning because I realized that I wanted to implement so many things, but I had to like realize which was more important and which was urgent. So that gave me an indication of what I needed to execute. So very nice tool. I recommend you guys to like use it, not just with planning itself, but with your life, man. Like if you need to like figure things out, this is good. I literally love this tool. And then you have like the RCV project prioritization matrix. So you understand what to avoid, what to investigate, what to consider, what to prioritize. I'm like, the output will be shared with you, so you guys can like go through this, and you guys can like see how exactly you can use this for your planning process. So, and the other thing is like your demand work prioritization matrix. So you understand urgency, and then you become an even bigger geek, and then you like break it down into the number of weeks and number of months that you're going to prioritize on things. And then you know exactly what is a higher impact, what is a medium impact, and what is a low impact project, and how do you work with it. And the other thing is like this as well. So how do you like you align your priorities? So this is even a more comprehensive version in which you understand how do you break down your tasks even more. I know I'm sounding like a super nerd right now with all my prioritization tools, but this is it. I mean, this is the juice of it. Like you figuring out what you want to achieve, and you trying to focus your selection into a perspective that helps you become much more productive. Because remember, at the end of the day, you can have like 10 different things you want to achieve, and the next MCVP could have like 3 things or 1 thing. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day when you start your 10 things and you're not able to finish them, but the other person is able to finish all 3 because they're showing output and you're not showing output. So that's a very important thing. Yeah, and this is a very like cute formula I use like one at a time to just figure out how how do I consider like my impact versus effort. So what kind of reach would it have, what would be the impact, and what kind of confidence is required to achieve this over the effort, like what kind of effort I'm going to be putting into this. Because if the rise score is less, then I would essentially like not do it, because I need to know that you need to know that you only have 1 year with your role, and the amount of time that you're going to have to achieve something is going to be very limited. So make sure that you focus on what you need to do and you get that done. That's it. And yeah, this is another matrix called the BCG matrix. It's a growth share matrix. So I'm not going to explain this, otherwise it's just going to be too much, but you guys can like go through this if you're really interested. But a lot of finance people use this as well. It's a very interesting thing when you're making investments and stuff. Yes. Now this is something I'm going to talk about. So this is something that's there in your planning tools as well. So how you define your operational focus. So now that you understand, we are using the RICE matrix a lot. So we are using the RICE formula a lot to make to understand how our priorities are going to be like. Now you need to understand this sheet, because if you are able to digest everything that I told you up to now, you will be able to reach onto a much better conclusion in this. So how is your impact and how is your effort going to look like? So like a lot of you know that we're not going to be focusing much on GV this year, but essentially we need to have focuses. We need to understand how we bring down revenue into the organization. So what is the potential revenue that we could have from running EWA? What would be the market research? How would our strategic goals be achieved? What is the cost of running it? What is the capacity? What is the plausible risk that you could have with running it? And then you get the impact score, you get the effort score, and then you can tally and see, okay, how your focuses would be aligned. Your MCPs are going to talk to you more about this during planning because this is part of the process. But yes, very interesting. I hope you guys are looking forward to this because I know I am. And yes, so to keep in mind, as we are wrapping up the session, as we're coming to the end, to keep in mind, like data analysis is not for planning. It should be embedded in your role and you can figure that out. Like for me, it just came out of curiosity because I just wanted to like not like look into data all the time and just keep on typing stuff. I just wanted to have my data ready so I could just see when I needed it to. And then there's no right data if there's no right question. Remember that. Like I could like right now research about like economies and GDPs and stuff like that, but it's not something I need right now. So unless you don't have a question, unless you don't have a question that's burning you so much to the point that you need that data, don't go for it right now. And then focus and prioritization will define and drive your planning. So you need to know like, okay, what am I going to prioritize? What am I going to focus on in my planning? Unless that's not there, I don't know how to get it done. And then planning saves time and effort as well as prioritization. Remember, this is the fundamental principle of anything. You need to save your time. Why do you delegate? Why do you automate? Because you save your time. Why do you prioritize? Why do you do like two-dimensional time working? Because you need to make sure at the end of the day that you are being productive, and then you save some time and you understand how to prioritize much better. And then it's just a matter of practice. Peeps, I can't like emphasize this so much. Like, trust me, I never did data management when I started my MCP term, but coming in, learning about different things, that builds your capacity to study. And I say that Isaac is the best place to like accelerate your learning process because you don't get the opportunity to do this elsewhere. But in Isaac, you get to like speed up, you get to try, and that's it. So yes, so once again, important links. You have your, I think I clicked the link. Okay. So you have your important links, as in you have your planning resources. You have, so the planning folder, I'm pretty sure you guys went through this yesterday, but your MCP should have this as well. So go through it once again. Your preparation framework. So this is also going to be something that you and your MCPs are going to have to sit down and work on. Your planning framework, how will your planning look like? How does the worksheet essentially look like? Very interesting stuff. And your planning output. So the output of what you're going to be doing, how does that pan into what you want to achieve? And yes, if you're running VPP as well, so this is something you need to look into for VPP. And yes, so if you have questions, if you need to like know anything about the session or about data management itself, please like make sure you're putting it down in these questions, and then me or someone from the regional office could like answer this and get back to you. And yeah, so just to recap on the space, so what we talked about yesterday was planning context and resources, which you got. And today's session was planning preparation and focus selection. I hope you got that with me. And the session tomorrow is going to be all about simulation. So it's about case study and planning. So how are you going to integrate your planning routine, and how is case study going to look like? Yes, so see you tomorrow. And thank you very much for this space. Love talking with you guys. Hopefully I am going to see you guys soon, and good luck onto your planning as well. Oh my God, we have 13 minutes left. So I saved you time for a break. So make sure that you guys are like taking this back and you're like planning, and you guys are like being super badass when you're going in front of your LCs when you plan presentation. You have everything ready. So yeah, guys, good luck. Thank you very much for having me. It was fun. See you soon.